the beginning of the end. Willow Lake had always been shrouded in mystery, but no one truly feared it until they started disappearing. The small town of Westcott, Pennsylvania, nestled in the shadows of a dense forest, had never seen much excitement. But something about that dark lake at the edge of town was different, ominous. Kate Larkin, a young investigative journalist, arrived in Westcott to document these disappearances. She'd heard the rumors, people walking into the woods near the lake, never returning, or those found wandering days later, hollow-eyed, muttering strange phrases. Her editor thought it was a local ghost story, but Kate sensed something darker. She planned to uncover the truth. She set up camp in a small, rundown cabin nearby. The townsfolk warned her to stay away from the lake at night, but she brushed off their fears, deciding to record some footage around dusk. That evening, a chilling mist crept over the lake, coating everything in an eerie, silvery glow. Kate's camera captured it all: the stillness, the silence, and an odd, dark figure standing just at the water's edge. She felt a shiver down her spine. Who would be out here alone? And why? The first encounter. Returning to her cabin, Kate replayed the footage, and that's when she noticed it. The figure wasn't there at the start of the clip. It appeared midway and then vanished. Zooming in, she realized the figure had no face, just an empty, hollow void where its features should have been. And yet, it stared straight at her. That night, as she lay in bed, a soft tapping echoed from her window. The sound was rhythmic, almost beckoning. She forced herself to look, heart pounding. Outside, through the thin glass pane, stood that same faceless figure, staring directly into her eyes. She screamed, scrambling to her feet, but when she threw the door open, there was no one there, just an empty, cold mist. The townspeople were tight-lipped about the lake and its strange phenomena, though she managed to speak with an elderly man named Clyde. "That lake," he whispered, "ain't what it seems. It's a door to something we're not meant to see." He warned her that once marked by the shadows of Willow Lake, they would follow her, until she joined them. The descent into darkness. Ignoring Clyde's warning, Kate continued her investigation. Each night, the sounds intensified: whispers, the tap-tap-tapping, and something even darker, a shadow figure that now seemed to be inside her cabin, lurking just at the edge of her vision. Desperation forced her to review hours of footage. In one clip, she noticed something bone-chilling: the shadows weren't random. They seemed to form words, phrases like, "Join us," and "Your time has come." She scrubbed the footage back and forth, thinking she might be hallucinating, but every time she replayed it, the messages grew clearer, bolder. Sleep became impossible. Her nightmares bled into reality. One night, she found herself standing by the lake's edge without remembering how she'd gotten there. The whispers, louder now, were inviting her in. She shook herself awake and fled, heart racing, vowing to leave Westcott and never return. The warning. Packing her bags, Kate realized the shadows had followed her. The faceless figure was inside her cabin, moving closer with every glance. Panic gripped her as she attempted to escape, but every time she opened a door, she ended up back in the cabin. It was as if Willow Lake itself had trapped her, pulling her deeper into its cursed embrace. In her desperation, she remembered Clyde's words about the door, and sought him out one last time. When she found him, he looked terrified, as if he could sense the darkness on her. "There's only one way out," he whispered. "You must confront them in the lake, or they'll haunt you forever." Into the depths. That evening, she went to the lake, trembling but determined. The mist enveloped her, and the whispers grew louder, forming a symphony of hollow voices. Slowly, she waded into the water, feeling an icy grip around her ankles, like unseen hands pulling her in. Suddenly, the water surged, and she was submerged in a world of shadows. There, beneath the lake, she saw them, faces, countless faces, trapped and screaming soundlessly. Her flashlight caught her own reflection in the murky water, but her face was shifting, blurring into that same faceless void. She struggled, gasping for air, clawing her way back to the surface. Breaking through, she saw Westcott's shore but sensed something was wrong. She was not alone anymore. The shadows had marked her. They were with her, and they weren't letting go. The final escape. Racing back to her cabin, Kate knew she couldn't stay. She gathered her belongings and sped down the old road, never looking back. The townsfolk watched her go, whispering to each other. Clyde alone stood silent, knowing she wouldn't be the last. Days passed, and Kate tried to put the events behind her. But she noticed strange things, her reflection fading in mirrors, shadows lingering longer than they should, and in every quiet room, she could still hear the whispers. In the end, she realized the truth. Willow Lake had claimed her, just as it had claimed so many before her. It was no longer a matter of if the shadows would take her completely, but when. As Kate's story fades, the legend of Willow Lake lingers, a reminder that some doors, once opened, can never be shut. If you find yourself near the woods of Westcott and glimpse a faceless figure in the mist, don't look too long. The shadows are always watching, waiting for their next soul. Thank you for joining us in the Shadows of Willow Lake. Don't forget to subscribe, if you dare, for more tales that might leave you wondering what else lurks in the dark.